Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, where we help women get on the path to God. One step, one story, one season at a time. This is a special season we're calling Transitions, a reflective series marking the past, present, and future of Inspired. You'll hear honest conversations with the women who helped build this ministry and those stepping into what's next. Whether you've been with us from the start or are just now finding your place, we're so glad you're here.
Welcome back, ladies, to Inspired Podcast. We're on season 7. We've missed you, so we want to welcome you back. We're glad you're here. This is our first episode of season 7, and today I'm joined by the OG girls.
Yes,
that's right.
We've got Megan and we've got Janice, and it's been a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good to be back.
I know. It's like it's just like we've never moved from this table.
Know.
It's like
I know.
there's Megan across from me and Jess over to the left, you know.
I got like a nostalgic, like excitement feeling last night, you know, kind of like Christmas Eve, but just like you just feel like you're going home from college for the first time, like that sort of like. And I was like, I must be sitting across from Jess and Janice tomorrow on the podcast.
It's definitely been special.
I know. I feel like it has been such a transformative experience for me, and like just hearing all of the different perspectives and feedback from all the women of this ministry and our listeners. It's just been incredible.
Yeah,
So-
and that's all where this whole idea started, was with the podcast, was within Inspired, what are ways that we can easily put things in women's hands that would give them handles for having real life conversations all through the context of who God is in his word. And so that's where this started. And that's why we're sitting around a table, because originally the encouragement was that you would grab a few of your own friends and you would sit around a table just like this, and that you would have these same conversations, or that you'd be inspired to know how to have conversations. I think sometimes we don't know how to integrate God into our conversations, especially with non-believers, because we're like, do they even care about my life or what God does in my life, or that I spend some of my time at church and I volunteer with this and I'm a servant leader for this. And sometimes it can be hard to integrate what God is up to in our story. Sometimes, first of all, it can be hard to be aware that he's even at work. And second of all, being able to share at a table or a space or a
And
coffee
not feel
shop
awkward.
and not feel awkward. It's kind of a mechanical of like, okay, so I need to tell you how God is working in my story. No, a lot of this happens, and what this was designed to be was an example of a table with how to integrate what God is speaking to you or saying to you or growing in you into your everyday conversations. So that's where it all started.
Yeah. And I can't even count the number of conversations that have started with, hey, I heard this on the podcast. Let's talk more about it. You know, and it really does help bridge that. Let's meet for coffee, and I'm going to talk to you about this random thing going on in my life and bring God into it. It's, hey, I heard this on a podcast, and what do you think about it? And I think that has been so cool.
Yep.
I think that was one of the things that surprised me, once we, did a number of episodes that, of course, I'm here at X Church, and people would come up to me on a Sunday morning and say, "Oh, I heard you, and you said this," and sometimes it was like, "I said that? Did I really say that?
Wait, I did?
Where'd that come from?" But no, but saying, that to say, I heard this on the podcast and it really helped me. It helped me, put something together that I've been thinking about or wondering about, or I've been worried about, or I didn't know what to do. And it just, it was almost, I realized in having some of those conversations, it's almost like we've been sitting here and we've been talking, but we have invited everybody else to join us at this table. And so that is where the conversation starts. And I agree with you, Megan. There were many times it's like, hey, can we meet for coffee and talk some more about this? And, and besides, it's been such a good thing just to be able to get to know the two of you, because we have all shared some stuff at this table.
We have.
Oh my gosh.
We have. There has been some good moments. I don't know if you've noticed that the title of this whole season is Transitions. And so in light of that, we are going to be talking about the transitions happening within Inspired. There's been some really exciting developments, and Inspired is undergoing a transition. And so we want to, take a whole season to really tease that out and walk through it step by step. But before we kind of lay out the transitions that will be going on, I think that it's really important that we take a whole episode and we celebrate and we look back.
Oh, yeah.
And Janice, you and I were talking about this earlier, but you said something so great and profound about how God looks back and celebrates. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously we know that God exists beyond time, but over and over again in his word, he says, remember what I did back then. Remember my faithfulness over here. Remember how I delivered you. And sometimes he looked at the Israelites and said, Dan, remember how you turned away and what happened and that kind of thing? Because when you remember, then you remember his faithfulness.
Right.
You remember how good he is. You remember, okay, he came through in that situation, so that means that he's going to come through in this one.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I tend to have amnesia.
Oh, yeah.
When I get into a dark moment, or I get into even a neutral moment, it's hard to remember sometimes what God has done.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think something that I don't remember who I heard teach this back when I was a pretty new Christian, but and it's stuck with me, and it's just the idea of Ebenezer's, and that they were commanded. Samuel was bringing them across, I believe it was the Jordan, and it was like, put a pile of stones right there in the middle where the priest stood as a reminder, 12 stones, one for each tribe, to remind you of how God delivered you.
Yeah.
And we're going to call that pile of stones Ebenezer, which is thus far God has been faithful. And so in my life, that's been a really big thing of just to say, I can look back and say, okay, you came through here. I didn't know how anything was going to work out. I was really confused here and you gave me light. I was really broken here and you healed me. And here I am right now and I'm not sure what to do.
Right.
But I know you did all these things. And so when we look back on Inspired, we're going to get inspired.
Yeah.
Because he is like, oh my gosh, we started with this thought and this vision and everything, and look at what he's done. Look at what he's done.
I think that's one of the coolest parts of this entire ministry is when you look back and you remember. Well, first of all, the first step is knowing to look back and remember. And I feel like in the busyness of our lives, in the culture that we live in, and what we put our focus on, sometimes it's really hard to even think, let me look back on the faithfulness that God has shown me. Yeah. And I think that, I know that through this ministry, women have built communities, they've made lifelong friends. I mean, every conference I go to, I meet new people. And even just that community helps to ground me and remind me of God's faithfulness. And so I just love that through this podcast and this entire ministry, God has really created a way for us to stay in remembrance of him. And I think that it's just so special here. Any event, any podcast you listen to, I've heard so many people that they just think it's so special when a community of women comes together. And I think it is too.
Yeah. I love that what this conversation started out with was the change and the life change and the evidence that we're able to see in our life and then in others' lives too. Yeah. And, I hesitate to say this because success is not about numbers, but I think it can be a measure of the reach of the breadth and width of what God's work is doing. And so I think as we look back on the episodes, I would love to celebrate that across all platforms, there has been 23,000 streams of the Inspired episodes.
Amazing.
And I can remember thinking at the very beginning, I don't know how to do a podcast and I don't know what we're doing. And the very first episode, it was you and me, Janice.
Yes, and around a little small round table.
Oh.
And I remember when you came to me one night and you said, hey, we're going to do a podcast I feel like we're supposed to do podcasts, and I want to know if you would do it with me. And I'm like, sure. I had no idea what I was getting into. And so, it's like, oh, well, you sit and you talk, I know, we have the X podcast here that some of the pastors do. And so I just figured, I can do that, but the first one, it was just Jess and me. And we learned very quickly. It's like 2 people. It's much better with 3.
It is much better with 3. And the other thing was there was serious stage fright, right? Because these lights, there's so many lights on you. You're in front of a microphone, and it's almost like a deer in a headlights. Like, I don't know how to have a regular conversation in front of a microphone and lights. And you just learn and you go with it. And but I look back on our first episode, I was like, wow, that was some novice individuals trying to figure this out. But I say all that to say that the heart behind it was there was like this. It was a burning, fiery excitement of like. I think there's going to be something special about this. I know that women love to talk. I know that women like to talk and listen and have conversations. And so how might we use a podcast in order to introduce just like a normal way to talk, a normal way to integrate God into our story, like I said earlier. And so that's where it started. And through the seasons, like I said, we're on season 7, which is mind-boggling. We had 2 seasons that were 12 episodes long, which were our longest episodes. And to be quite honest, those are the episodes that have the highest listens per episode. Because we talked through so many different things. I mean, throw out some subjects that you remember talking about. I mean,
Forgiveness.
Oh, do you remember that one for any particular reason?
I do remember because it's burned into my mind on my conviction list.
Okay.
I remember that because the episode before we got talking about something, and at the very end, somehow we got into forgiveness. And I remember looking at you, and you were just like, I couldn't decide whether you were looking at me with daggers in your eyes or
like, how dare you bring up this?
Or if it was just conviction or whatever. But then we decided to go ahead and do that. And that, to me, though, it just models, again, this is how, in relationship with other women, this is how things go. When you talk, things come up.
It's like a river.
It is.
It doesn't really have a clear-cut course.
No.
It goes where it wants to. And I once heard an analogy, and I don't know if I've said this before, but like someone, like right when I got married to my husband, said, men are like filing cabinets, women are like rivers. And they said, men tend to compartmentalize the subjects and the conversations that they have, and women, you could be downstream a mile and you're crying from something that was upstream 1 mile, and it just integrates its way into your current state, mood, feeling, anything. And so I think our conversations have been like great rivers.
Yeah. I remember we did a lot of things about friendship. About finding friends, what to do about toxic friends, toxic relationships, boundaries, all of those kinds of things. I think that those were really good. I remember that there was one, I think we did 2 episodes on hormones, and the second one.
That was one of the highest listened to episodes.
Oh my gosh.
Go figure.
Yeah. We all want to know about our hormones.
We all want to make sense of them.
Yeah. And I think the thing the one I remember was, it was Gina and Kay and me.
Yes.
So we were part 2.
You were second half of life hormonal.
And I mean, just for me personally, that was a really cool conversation because I was talking with women who was like, yeah, we've been through it. Okay, guys, this is what you have to look forward to. But it was really, there was so much that was, shared in that. Yeah. And I think those are some of them. And we've talked about role of women,
shame.
That was, there were so many things.
I will say these are the most listened to episodes. I thought I would name them. The pilot episode with Laura Lee, this was the second one after Janice. And this is when we figured out we need a third person because it will help the conversation flow a lot better. So we had Laura Lee on. Like, let's just put her under the limelight. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think that there's a lot of people in our community that are intrigued by Laura Lee. I know I was before we became friends. She's our pastor's wife, and she's just so wise and soft spoken. I
Yeah.
mean, she's so gentle, and but when you get talking to her, she has a lot of things that she says, and they're like nuggets of gold. And so we had her on, and that was one of the top listened to episodes. I think everybody was intrigued by
Yes.
what she had to say. And then one of the topics that got the most listens was perfectionism versus transparency. And so
That's a good one.
yeah, and so as I was reading through these episodes and going back to them, my question was why? And it's obvious. I mean, the most listened to conversations are not the typical topics that you hear in churches and more specifically women's groups.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we tend to focus a little bit more on the things that are easier to talk about, the things that we have more knowledge about. But I think all of us at this table would agree that a lot of times when we reached out to people to ask for topic suggestions or we had people email in, those were the ones that were the most listened to, but also the ones that we felt the least equipped to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. I feel like these topics are the ones that I went into nervous. And I, even just recording our podcast on those topics, I felt myself gaining new perspectives and growing in those areas. And I really just appreciated that the women in our community were willing to say, whether it was email or in person or DM, to say, this is going on and I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see that I'm not the only one who deals with shame. I'm not the only one who struggles to be transparent amongst friends. And in equipping for those podcasts, it was just really cool to be able to let that guard down and really just have an open and honest conversation about what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And
I think that speaks to the craving of authenticity in our culture today, is that we know we are constantly bombarded with a very put together, curated answer in life.
Yes.
And so when you hear someone kind of like shooting from the hip and talking like, I don't know if this is a right perspective, but maybe this is what I think God thinks about it. Here's why. And maybe what do you think? And I think that a conversation like this is so valuable in our society. And I think all of us would agree that we are not very good listeners. We're not very good listeners. And so I think one of our hopes in doing this podcast was, how do we sit at a table with different perspectives of others and still hold that space for them and give them a safe place to say it without jumping down their throat, trying to correct them and fix them and tell them how they should think.
Yeah, because we're surrounded by, in our culture, with the emphasis on image. How do you look? How do you present yourself? And you darn well better be together.
right.
You better look good. You better, come across like, you have all the answers, that you know what's going on and all of those things, whether it's in your parenting or your job or your marriage or your friendships, or, the idea to just say, I don't know,
Right.
is not something that's real acceptable, because we're supposed to know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we've always tried to do here at this table is to say, we don't know, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And because when we talk about it, we can learn from each other. And I think the idea of vulnerability, I think that's something that through all the seasons that I've been in, that's something that I've tried to keep in the top of my mind, is I want to be vulnerable and share my heart and my foilables and how I hide stuff in my oven when people come over.
One of my favorite moments, Janice confessing to hiding things in her oven when people come over. That was one of the first episodes.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Jordan just did that the other day, actually, and I didn't realize that he had done that until I preheated my oven. He had made like breaded chicken on a rack in the oven, and because his parents were coming over for dinner, and let me just start by saying he cooks, so I'm not complaining.
Bravo,
right?
Jordan.
Yes, round of applause. But I preheated the oven like the next day. And
Oh.
I remember I was reading a book to Peyton, my daughter, in her room. And I got the smell that there has to be a fire somewhere in the house.
Oh,
And I opened that oven because Janice said that she hides pans in the oven.
no.
I said, I bet there's
You
a pan
just
in
saved
there.
their household.
You did.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I opened that oven, and man, the smoke was crazy.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I sent a picture to him. I said, stellar idea.
Way to hide things.
And he is a podcast listener, an avid listener every week. So he probably got that from you, Janice.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Another top listen was Toxicity, Mean Girls, Church Hurt, and Shame. I mean, that was all in one episode. I mean, those could have each had their own episodes. Another one is How to Study the Bible.
Yeah.
That was a big one. And I've always sensed that would an episode like that would have high listens, just because if you're anything like me, like at some points in my life, I'm like, I don't know what to make of these
Yeah.
words.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
what
do.
they mean. Are they relevant to me anymore? I live so many thousands of years after this. So that was a top listen. Another one, like we said, was Hormones. And the top listened to episode of all time throughout all seasons was our Tony Collier episode from our
yeah.
conference. So it was a one-off.
yeah.
It wasn't even integrated into a season. It was a one-off with Tony Collier. And the reason for that, anybody know why the reason that it was the top listened to episode?
She went viral.
She went viral with that clip.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we had an Instagram clip that was just very, nonchalantly posted after the conference of like, oh, this was a great piece of content. And for whatever reason, the internet just grasped onto it and it became
Yes.
viral. And we actually, funny story, got tens of thousands of followers on our
Yes.
Instagram page from that one clip. So that was, I mean, no pressure. I mean, this tiny little ex-church in the middle of Ohio now was getting all this traffic generated from this Tony Collier episode. And my bet was they heard the piece of the conversation that they intrigued them, and they went back and they listened to that whole episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the top episode of all time. So through 7 seasons, 23,000, well, 6 seasons, because this is the 7th season, 23,000 listens.
awesome.
But I'm really, so we've already talked about a little bit about the oven thing. We talked about just some things that stood out to us, but maybe look back. We're going to give some life updates too. So don't turn this off quite yet, because we've all done different things, I guess, since the last time we were all 3 on the podcast. But what are some of the, what are some moments or one moment that has stuck with you throughout all the seasons, or what has been something surprising or funny or something that you'll remember throughout the podcast? I just want to throw that out there and see where it hits you guys.
I think for me, we're all young, but I'm the youngest one at this table.
That was very kind of you, Megan.
That was so wonderful.
I'm
Thank
so
you so much.
diplomatic of you.
And I have loved hearing perspectives from Jess and Janice, both of whom have been married, have kids. And when we started this podcast, I was neither of those things. Wasn't married, didn't have kids. And so to hear perspectives from you guys, and to also boldly proclaim that I would never use a nose Frida or feed my child hot dogs, all of which I've done multiple times since, because that is
I just
life.
wanted to let you know that in the gentlest and kindest way possible, Janice and I were sitting across the table thinking she's going to eat crow.
Yeah. Well, I did. And it's
nose Frida.
okay. We're going to value transparency.
That's right.
And when I listen back on those episodes, I'm like, Megan, you worried about so much that you did not have to worry about. And the nose Frida has saved my child so many times. Do I still gag? Yes. However, my favorite thing is, with all of us being in different stages of life, when I came on to this podcast, I was dating my now husband, who's now the father of my daughter, Peyton. And when I look back, at every episode, at every season, I'm just reminded of God's sovereignty in every area of my life and his constant pursuit of me through all of these experiences. I mean, between I got married, we bought a house, I started off as a teacher, and now I have a home bakery. Like, I lost my dad unexpectedly. I was, my home was filled with community that I never knew I would need so badly. And throughout all of that, trying to get pregnant, finally, having our daughter who's perfect and crazy, and just like building a life together, it has been just the biggest reminder of every area of my life where God is working, even when I don't know it. And I think when I listen back and I was recording these episodes, I can see him like saying, "Oh, Megan," and or just saying like, "Just wait, just wait for what I have in store for you." And I mean, it's just been amazing. And so that's what I love with this whole idea of transitions. I'm like, I feel like this podcast has been with me through every transition of my life. And now the whole ministry is going through a transition, and it is so full circle and cool to just witness and be a part of.
Yeah.
So I just love it.
I could not have said that better myself. And that's your story, but I feel very many, or like several points of your story are so true for all of us. So, yep. Thank you for sharing that. You did it very succinctly. Like, you did life update, and you also did like how podcast.
I tried, short and sweet, and then you can pull me over in the foyer if you have questions.
There you go.
And we can talk for hours because I love to do that.
Oh my goodness.
All right, Janice, where have you been? And where are you going?
Where have I been? Where am I going? Well, I was thinking about this. It's like Megan has, within this short period of time, has had this change, this. And it's like, and I thought, but in your stage of life, your age and all that, that's usually the way it goes.
Yeah,
that's
It's the way it goes. And then as you get, as your life goes on, things, in a way, those transitions don't happen as often, I'm still here at X Church on staff. I do have a different position than when we first started. Yeah. I actually look back because, it's like, when was the first episode? The first episode was August 4th, 2021.
Oh my gosh.
That was when the first one aired.
Yeah.
So you and I probably recorded it a couple weeks earlier, the end of July or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was 4 years ago. It's like it has been a while, And so I started thinking about, okay, in 4 years and all that. At the time we started, I was discipleship director and, worked with small groups and did things like that. And now my title is spiritual director. And part of what I do, besides leading some of our teams here, our prayer team and our baptism team and some of the other things that we do, I'm really involved in care and meeting with people when they have questions about faith, when they, are going through a difficult time and they're trying to find where's God in all of this. I actually took some classes to become a mental health coach and have used that, especially in working with people with grief and loss, and that to me is, if you've listened to this, one of the things, part of my story is that my husband, Israel, passed away. Actually, it's been 11 years now. And out of that, I remember about a year or so after he passed away, just saying, God, just use this in some way. Yeah. There's got to be a purpose. I mean, this can't just be for nothing. And he has done that over and over and over again. That's how faithful he is. And so, today I'm still obviously still here and still on staff and just really enjoying life so very, very much. Yeah. God is so good. And I've seen his faithfulness in my family as well as in those around me. And I was thinking about like what we've talked about. You already brought up about the hot dogs. I was going to bring that up. And that's only because I just wanted to say without even asking, I knew without what the answer was going to be. It's like, yes, you have given that child hot dogs. I know it because, you
she
know.
also loves peas, though. So
Well, that's okay.
Balance.
See, it all
Right,
balances out.
yeah.
It all balances out. That and the other one was the episode where you were talking about getting a facial and getting your nose
my
waxed.
gosh.
Oh, you know that was a long time ago because girl does not get facials anymore. Oh my gosh.
Wait, why?
Talk about a transition. Oh, I get, my 5-minute skincare routine morning and night, but
Yeah.
that's about all we do right now. And I'm okay with that because there's a season for everything and $95 facials is not right now.
That's a good perspective.
But the nose wax I do miss. I will say that. I might try and figure out a way to do that at home.
Yeah.
It was just so refreshing. I don't know.
I don't remember what episode
Lydia,
that
you can
was.
cut that out.
Either,
What
but
I
I
say.
just that
If you want to go back and listen about Megan's nose wax,
I think there was a Did we post a picture? I think we put a picture of me with the wax
Yeah.
in my nose.
in your nose. That might have been that you just sent us a text.
Oh,
I
Yeah, that was
remember the
probably not
picture, but I
posted
think it's just you sent it to us just to show us.
well, we'll just keep it that way. Mom.
yeah. Tight knit community here.
We've been through a lot together.
That's right.
We
I
have
know.
very
and,
much so.
and I'm just, to me, it's just like, there's been times after an episode, it's like, I've looked and saying, why did you share that? Why did you say that? It's like,
oh my
it's like,
gosh.
all these people who are listening know that you were a hippie when you were in college,
Yes.
It's like, whatever. But it's like, it's part of my story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I feel like we've tried to model and to show is that your story matters.
Yeah.
Your story matters so much.
Every time I hear a phrase that I'm like, I could not agree with that more, I feel like I need a cowbell in my hands because I need to
like that.
ring the bell to be like, ding, ding, ding. Like, that's right.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story and their story is so important.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get to just tell little parts of our story. But I think the beautiful thing about this table is that our story has unfolded over many years.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything, us three would desire that would be a same desire of yours.
Yeah.
That you would have a community of women or one woman to walk closely with as your story unfolds. Because God created you intentionally and on purpose, and He has a purpose for you as well as you walk the days on earth. And I think sometimes, like I said earlier, we're not very good at listening. And a big part of storying is being able to listen.
Yes.
And hold the space and the eye contact to be able to listen to someone's story and not be distracted. And I've even read studies, this is wild, that we are such visual beings that when we have a moment and have an opportunity and a space to tell our story or a part of our story, when we're met with empathy of someone else's face that's like mimicking the same emotions that we experience in our story, there is a part of healing that goes on inside of us. Like neurologically, there's a part of healing.
Yeah.
And so our stories, when we are able to speak them, bring levels of healing. And so you're right. There's nothing greater than being able to say parts of your story.
Yeah.
And when you feel that you've been seen and heard, just like you were saying, there is healing in that.
Yeah.
And that's often happens without even words being spoken.
Yeah.
I think of Hagar
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how she was seen by the
Yes,
Lord
you're the God
when
who
she was
sees.
banished outside of her tribe or out of her group, and she was leaving Ishmael, right? Ishmael left to die, and she went to go hide because she didn't want to see all that happen. And that's when God intervened into her story and said, I see you. And the trajectory of her life changed from that moment on because she was seen.
Yeah.
So that's why, it's just so important that people are seen and heard. You're right.
Yeah. And sometimes part of that is just being with someone, is just giving them your presence.
Yeah.
And I think at this table, that's one of the things that I've always felt is that we've been present with each other, not distracted, not, looking at our phones and seeing what is it that I missed or whatever that popped up, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something when I sit down with someone, even if it's just a friend for lunch or something, not necessarily because someone say, hey, I want to meet with you for coffee, but to be able just to, take the phone, put it over here. And I just want to hear from you. I just want to, let's just talk. Let's, let's connect and just be, it's a discipline. Because sometimes we're so distracted and we're
like goldfish. We have the attention span of 20 seconds. Even probably less than that.
Yeah, I think it is less than that.
I think it's less than that. I really do. I think it tends to be that you're talking to someone and then all of a sudden, in your mind you're thinking, okay, when I'm done here, I need to do this and this and this. And then tonight I'm going to make this for dinner. And oh gosh, do I have all the ingredients? And before you know it, they've gone on and talked and you're just all of a sudden, oops.
Right.
And you're like, I'm just missed what they
Yeah.
said. So I think that what we've done here is it's a discipline to just to be able to focus.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times have we all said after we've gotten done recording one of these where we've looked at each other and said, okay, I just feel like I've been in therapy.
Yes.
Yes. And I love that, Jess, you brought up, the physical, neurological response to someone showing empathy to you in person, to your face. We've talked about how after we have these discussions, we just feel at peace. And, that is God's design for us. And so these conversations, although tough and exhausting, God designed us to be in community with each other and to walk through life with each other. And whether that's with one person or, your square squad of 3 or 4, there's a reason that we have those responses and that we feel those ways after conversations like this, and being empathetic with people and meeting face to face instead of just texting them. That's how we're designed. And it's a good thing to do those things.
I'm glad you mentioned Square Squad because I was thinking about
I also don't know other
than hot dogs and nose waxing
and nose Frida,
right? And nose
stuff.
Frida and dishes in the oven and being a hippie and stuff. But I think that one of the things that kept coming up over and over again was the concept of the Square Squad, which I think was in one of the first.
Yeah,
it was in the first season. I'm almost
so
certain.
good.
That is a Brene Brown concept.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Brene Brown, but that was a Brene Brown concept, and it you're right. It did resurface in a lot of our conversations. And the concept is your inner circle, right? And so you have very few people in your inner circle, and we talked about how countercultural that is because we live in a very open an open life on social media and all that. And so a Square Squad is those people that you are having face-to-face conversations with regularly and that you are you're in front of and you're interacting with and you're growing and you're going deep.
Yeah.
So the Square Squad has been brought up many times, but we're coming to the end of the episode, and look, I didn't get to share my transition update, so that will be next episode. But before we go, I really, as we looked back and celebrate all that God did, I want to know, what is one conference moment that you wish you could relive? I mean, like, we've had how many conferences? 5? 4? 5. First
21,
one was 21,
22.
22, 23. There's one year we had 2.
Yeah.
I can't do math in front of people. It's like, okay, and also I'm working like a ticket booth this weekend, and I'm like, this is the most horrible. I just like it's literally easy math, but like the 10 minus 4, and then how much money do I give back to them?
Oh my gosh. Or just like asking people for money. Like,
I
can't. Yeah.
It's $5.
Yeah. I'm like, you can just go in for free. Megan, I know.
Anyways, we had
One
lots of
moment.
conferences. So
That's hard.
what is a moment that you loved about the conference that you wish you could relive, or what? There's a many moments.
Okay, I have one moment that really sticks out, and it was, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Is it tapestry or tapestry?
Tapestry. Tapestry.
I think I've always said it wrong.
It's British.
Okay,
Tapestry.
tapestry. So when our conference theme was tapestry. There was a wall out in the foyer, and
The
it just
yarn
had
wall.
yes, the
Yeah.
yarn wall was so powerful. And if you weren't there, it was a wall with pegs in it, and each peg had like a life experience, like hurt or abuse or and good things too. So
Birth of a
marriage,
child.
right, having a baby, and you in your your swag bag that you got, everybody got a different color piece of yarn. And so at any point in the conference, you could go out to the yarn wall and wrap your yarn around every peg that aligns with your life. And it was so cool to see women. I honestly think it was healing for some
Yeah,
women.
I have goosebumps right now that you're
Yeah,
telling me that.
I think that it was healing for women to be like, to name what they've gone through,
Yeah.
to physically wrap a piece of yarn around it in a place where they are welcomed and covered by the mercy and the love of God, and to then stand back and look at all of these pieces of yarn just interwoven and intertwined around good, bad, mundane. It was just so cool because it's just a reminder of how different people's experiences are and how healing the power of the Holy Spirit is in every single one.
Yeah.
And just how good and faithful God is. And it's like, I wanted to like take it home and like hang it up in my house,
I have some pictures of it.
It was so
It was very powerful.
good.
That was one of the things that I thought of because the power in it that I really saw was that to realize that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, like because there's like one specific peg that would have something on it that you might have a tendency to not wrap around because you're like, I don't want my string to like, I don't want people to know or whatever. But this was so anonymous, and so once you saw other strings wrapped around that peg, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person
not
that's
the only
dealt
one.
with this, or I'm not the only person that celebrated this, or
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
very
I remember
inclusive.
I ran out of string.
You're like, can I have another foot of this?
I think the other thing that has always stuck with me from the conferences is our worship moments of just having a room full of women worshiping God. There is just there's just a different kind of power and presence in that than there is, say, on a Sunday morning or a worship night or whatever, of just the all these women's hearts that God created as He created us as women, just focused in on worshiping Jesus. It is so special and really powerful, and you can just see it moving in the room. And so I think those are some of my other really favorite
I
spots.
always kind of attribute that the word that comes to mind when I think of women in one room worshiping is abandonment, because what I know about me is as a woman, as a female, I think I carry a lot of other people's emotions and sometimes physically their stuff. And I think on Sunday mornings we have our friends come alongside with us. We have our husbands, we have our kids, we have our in-laws, we have like so many different connections, and whether we realize it or not, we carry them into the experience with us. And like, I don't want to raise my hands because I've been asking my husband to come for so long, and he's finally here, and I don't want him to be scared away or to be afraid of coming back into this space. And so we adjust, right? And because we want to take care of people, we want to host people, and when you come in with a bunch of women, you're like, what I'm dealing with, what I'm like,
Right.
yeah, we carry this together, but like, we don't have any of that stuff with us today. I mean, yes, we're carrying in certain things, but there is just something just really electric about coming into a space where we're like, we don't have to be anybody for anybody today. And I think that's always just so powerful.
Yeah. So good.
I think one of my favorite moments of the conference, and we're gonna, this is kind of a segue to the next episode, and we're gonna dive more into this, but a long time ago, probably 5 years ago, is when I really feel like God was starting to do some work in my heart about connecting me with other women, and in my hometown, in my home church, and out of that, it seemed like a very small vision, and over the years, to see it unfold I just don't even have any words.
Yeah.
And as I've like hosted parts of the conference, I can stand on this stage and it's so affirming to me that the parts inside of me that God was wanting to, the word, I don't know what the word would be, heal,
Like
grow, experience of him was so not individualistic. It was connected to a larger body. And so as I've stood up on this stage and just have been able to look across a crowd of women, I know I was not doing this alone, and that my cry for connection was just as much as all of the women in front of us.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And so it has just been a remarkable experience year after year to see it grow, because it has done nothing but grow.
Yes.
And to see that women are hungry for the same things that I was at one point, and to see it being collectively carried was just made me speechless. And so I think that was always one of my favorite conference moments. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, it's not about numbers. If anything, it's indicative of a deeper longing that we have, and that we're finding an on-ramp to connection in all of this.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, like I
So
said,
good.
next episode will be some more transition life updates, also kind of like where Inspired started, where it's been, and where it's going. So you're going to want to come back next episode.
good.
I just want to take a really quick moment, and I want to thank Janice, and I want to thank Megan.
Yes, we had
And
so much fun.
I wouldn't do that crying. But thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability and authenticity at this table.
Aw.
At the beginning, when we were trying to figure out who's going to be sitting here, and it's changed over the years, but initially, I think what this table needed was people who were humble and didn't have it all figured out quite yet, and different life stages, different experiences. And what I have seen through all of that is we were able to come to a common space of we love Jesus, we don't have it figured out, and we have a lot of different experiences to add to the conversation. So I want to thank you. I know listeners, you might not know how much time goes into one single episode, but you guys have dedicated countless hours of researching beforehand with topics, but also sitting here and being vulnerable and sharing some of that research and some of that experience. And so I just want to say thank you. And it makes me speechless again, but I thank you for doing that and devoting the time and the energy to doing that. So
It was the best
Yes.
use of my time that I could imagine, honestly.
It's been a gift.
Yeah.
It's been a real gift.
Yep.
Absolutely.
all right, well, that concludes episode 1 of season 7. You're going to come back next week to hear episode 2. See ya.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Inspired Podcast. If something in today's conversation encouraged you, share it with a friend or reach out. We'd love to hear from you at inspired@thex.church. And remember, wherever you are not alone. You are designed by God, invited to discover more, and welcomed to dwell with Him.